If you're considering using a VPN, you might be wondering if they're legal in your country? When looking for information on VPNs, it can be difficult to come up with useful answers. In this video, we'll tell you everything you need to know. So, let's get started. Is it legal to use a VPN? Yes, VPNs are legal in the majority of countries. Russia, China, and North Korea are some of the more famous exceptions. We will talk about it later in the video. There's nothing wrong with using a VPN on a regular basis to preserve your privacy. However, VPNs may earn a poor name as a result of their use for criminal activities. For example, driving a car is lawful, but what if you use that car to commit a robbery? Of course, that would be against the law, but you get the idea. A VPN is a strong tool for protecting your online privacy and anonymity. Legality or illegality is determined by how you utilize it. Legitimate uses for a VPN. Anonymity. VPNs encrypt your data, keeping it safe from snooping like your ISP or the government. Those who publish about sensitive subjects in countries with rigid censorship laws use a VPN. VPNs encrypt all of your internet traffic, preventing it from being traced back to you. Defending yourself against hackers. Hackers can use man-in-the-middle attacks, packet sniffing, and more to gain control over your computer. Using a VPN can help prevent this. If a hacker gets hold of your IP address, they can dox you and leak your personal information. If they carry out a DDoS attack on your computer, this will slow it down, or even shut it down. VPNs protect you from this by hiding your IP addresses. Working remotely and safely. Large organizations mandate that their employees use a VPN while working remotely. If you're working from a co-working space, using a VPN safeguards your computer from network hacking attempts. Visit banned sites. If you're traveling abroad, you might find that a lot of your favorite websites are banned. This includes Facebook, Google, Wikipedia, and dozens of others. By using a VPN, you can bypass censorship and browse the internet freely in countries like Hong Kong and China. Boost your connection speed. Network congestion is when too many people trying to access a hotspot at the same time. This happens when a server node is forced to handle more traffic than it can. Using a VPN, however, allows you to bypass the congested server and speed up your connection. As we mentioned before, VPNs are illegal in some countries. Here is a complete list. Although VPNs are not strictly prohibited in China, the government has blocked the majority of VPN websites. As a result, you won't be able to get a new VPN within the region. However, if you already have a VPN with a scramble setting enabled, you might be able to get over the Great Firewall. While it is legally allowed to use a VPN in Russia, it is illegal to use a VPN to access content or websites that the government has blocked. VPNs are legally allowed in the United Arab Emirates, but utilizing them to access unlawful content is not. In Turkey, using a VPN is legal, but the government has blacklisted various websites that sell VPN services as a way to limit social media access. Belarus has officially banned VPNs. Iraq blocked VPNs in 2014 in an effort to aid in the fight against ISIS. Iran has banned VPNs, as well as the majority of prominent social networking platforms. In North Korea, using a VPN is prohibited. The prohibition, however, is only in effect for those who live in the country. Tourists are permitted to access the internet as well as a VPN. As of 2010, using a VPN in Oman is absolutely forbidden. As of 2015, using a VPN is completely prohibited in Turkmenistan. Is it safe to use a VPN in countries where it's banned or illegal? It all relies on whether or not the VPN you're using has a strict no-logging policy in place. If the VPN does not log your activity, they will be unable to provide it to the local authorities, even if they request it. This means that even if VPNs are prohibited in your country, you will still be protected if you use one. If the VPN does keep track of your data, there's a significant chance they'll send it over to the authorities if necessary. The majority of the time, the VPNs that log your data are free VPNs. Due to the fact that they do not charge for their services, they must earn money by logging and selling your data to third-party advertising. We recommend using a VPN with 256-bit encryption to ensure the highest level of data security. It must have many server locations to provide you with lightning-fast speeds, and it must adhere to a stringent no-log policy that ensures your data is never logged, ever. If you're looking for such VPN services, check out the link in the description below. Hope you liked the information presented in this video. If yes, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.